everybody. Welcome back to another Cult of Misfits. I'm Matt Owens. If you like things of an esoteric nature, spirituality, enlightenment, the nature of reality, consciousness, ancient civilizations, the mysteries of the pyramids, if you're into any of those things, consider following my podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and even your Amazon Alexa or quote unquote smart device. A Cult of Misfits. I'm going to test the waters here for a minute and see if anybody's into it. If not, I will just retract it and we'll pretend like it didn't happen. But uh, I'm considering teaching a workshop, and the topic is up for debate. Um, I just don't know if anybody'd be interested in learning about the things that I dive into, because I often go down these rabbit holes and just I'm a sponge and I soak up all this information, and then I tend to sort of regurgitate it back in these podcast episodes. But it's over the course of several episodes. I've been really into ancient monoliths and the pyramids and these ancient structures that are mysteriously built around the world. And I do these deep dives on them, and I'm wondering if anybody out there would be interested in. It would be a free workshop, just for those of you that are curious, just to test it out and see if anybody would like to learn more about our ancient history and perhaps an alternate history than we were taught in our public school system, or that mainstream science perhaps leans towards. So, if you're interested in exploring any of those ideas. Not just ancient civilizations, but diving into things of a spiritual nature, and talking about the mythology and the gods, or the ancient Mesopotamians and their origin stories, or the stories of the flood, and how it may be real and may have been a warning for future civilizations, aka us. So these are the kinds of things that I dive into, and often when I'm researching these things just for myself, for my own knowledge, because I find it all fascinating. There's a lot to sift through. There's a lot of bad videos out there, because I always like to make sure that it's as accurate as it can be, or accurate enough to my satisfaction, before I can make a decision. So it's just about sifting through all those YouTube videos and listening to a lot of scholars talk about, geology, or theologians talking about diving deep into religion. Um, or mythic belief systems. Like, it gets real scholarly and hard to wade through, but I love that stuff. So if you're interested in these topics and don't necessarily want to spend the time sifting through endless YouTube videos or listening to scholars drone on for hours about mythologies or whatever, or even things like letting go of attachments in your life, or facing some of those fears in your life, learning to go with the flow, looking within, learning to do these things that I've been practicing in my own life over the last couple of years. So, if any of these topics interest you, I know I threw a lot at you there, but if any of these things sound interesting, or are speaking to your heart, um, send me a message or leave a comment below on whatever platform you happen to be listening to this on, and let me know if any of those sound interesting to you. This is what I do: is I just test new things out to pull all the buttons and the levers in this crazy reality of ours, and just to see where we're at and what sticks and what doesn't stick. So if I'm not meant to be doing a workshop right now, then I'm going to get zero responses from y'all. But if you guys start reaching out and saying, yeah, that does sound interesting, then I will pursue it more. I'm just sort of testing the waters out to see where we're at. So um, today I want to talk about practicing patience and perseverance. Very, very plosive episode, guys. I'll try not to spit into the microphone as I say peas. But we're going to talk about patience, because these are the things. What I like to do is just let you know what I'm going through in my own life week to week, right? And let you know how I sort of tackle certain things, or address certain things, or view certain things. And front and center this week, the universe has really been teaching me to practice patience and perseverance. So that's what we're going to talk about this week. All of these episodes, all of part of the main reason why I talk to you guys is just to share these things in my own life. It's good in keeping me vulnerable, because that squashes the ego, to just let you guys peek behind the curtain and be vulnerable, and let you know some of the things that I'm struggling with. And And not just that, but how I work through them and how I eventually overcome them and conquer them. That's what this story is about. So I like to just take notes on my own life and then just let you copy my notes. So anybody who's interested, I'm not interested in um, preaching to anybody or converting you or telling you how to live your life. I'm just saying this is what I've done. Here's the results I've had. Feel free to copy my notes. So that's what these episodes are about. So we're going to talk about how I have been practicing patience, and really this has been over the last 2 years. Mainly is when it started kicking in because old versions of myself, I have to tell you, not very patient. I would say I had very little patience. I worked in the restaurant industry, and it made me a very bitter person. I had very little patience for just people in general and humanity. I had a lot of road rage, didn't like traffic, got real worked up anytime I was stuck in traffic. God forbid I had to wait for 5 minutes, in traffic that was a little bit heavy. Um, so maybe you can relate to that, and I have a feeling that you can to some degree because I feel like we're in this age where nobody has patience, or very little people, I should say, have patience in this modern society, especially with social media, of course, and YouTube. Sort of pushing us in that direction and encouraging us to have short attention spans and zero patience. And so I lumped myself into that. But what I wanted to do was to cultivate a change, to start practicing more patience in my life. I didn't know what that looked like. I just asked for help from a divine hand that always leads me and guides me in the right direction. And I said, look, I would like to start practicing being more patient. Help me out with that. And as I've found from past experience in my life, anytime I ask the universe for help, I get plenty of opportunities to practice whatever it is I'm working on. And so I got lots of chances to practice patience. I got stuck behind real slow people on the freeway, just ridiculous situations. That's how I know it's the universe leading me and guiding me and smiling when somebody on the freeway is going like 20 miles an hour under the speed limit in the fast lane, and get ready to watch my head explode as I just like turn a shade of green and I turn into this Hulk as I'm flying down the freeway, and I just want to smash that person's car out of existence. Okay. These are old versions of myself. I've worked through that shit. That's why we're talking about it. Maybe you can relate. So the universe would send me these situations where I would be in the grocery store line, stuck behind, the nice little old lady who's talking to the cashier about the thing that her kittens did yesterday, sitting on the porch, and you wouldn't believe it. They normally don't go outside, but the birds and I don't care about your story, lady. Let's get this thing on the road. I got places to be. And then she brings out her checkbook, and it takes her 85 years to write a check. And what was the amount again? And oh, yeah, that reminds me of this one time that I was going with my granddaughter. And it's like, oh my God, what is going on right now? So that sort of stuff made me real angry. I had no patience. And so the universe would give me situations like that in order for me to practice patience. So what I would do is I would intentionally fling myself into situations that I find challenging in order to overcome them and defeat them and incorporate them, to love them, etc. It's all a practice, right? So what I would do is I would go on the freeway, and instead of going in the fast lane like I have done since I had my driver's license, because what kind of a Hanyak would go in the slow lane intentionally? Uh, what I would do is I would intentionally go in the slow lane, and I would tell myself as I'm like gritting my teeth so hard that dust is coming out of my mouth, like I'm like, okay, we can do this, we can do this, we can do this. We're practicing patience, we're practicing patience. Like as I'm gripping the steering wheel so tight that like I'm bending the metal inside of it. Like we can do this. We're practicing patience. Just getting behind the slowest person on the freeway on purpose, telling myself we can do this. We can do this, buddy. We're practicing patience. And the thing is I was real terrible at it for a while. That's the whole thing is when you practice these things, or face your fears, or do something that takes you outside your comfort zone, like going in the slow lane intentionally, getting in the longest lane in the grocery store, getting behind the old lady on purpose, knowing that we're going to practice patience today, buddy. Whether you like it or not, friend, that's what I tell my mind. So you have to realize, I'm just speaking from my own experience, that you're going to suck at it in the beginning. Probably. If you don't, like, good for you. Who are you? Let me take notes from you if you can do it on the first time. But that's not what I've shown in my own life. Not what I've seen in my own life is that it takes a while and you have to have perseverance. That's what we're going to get to in a minute. Is knowing that, look, this is a process. You don't just go to the gym and get ripped on day one. You got to kind of go back every day, every week. On a side note, I got into a real good rhythm making these podcasts. I intentionally, I was trying to do it, I was doing it like once a month, and then kind of like, well, maybe once a week or so. And I'd kind of like, gain up the courage and, get, what am I going to talk about and all that nonsense. But I started getting into a real good rhythm of doing it every day or every other day, which is what I've been working up to. And I'm patting myself on the back as I'm saying this. But I took the last few days off. I took off like 3 or 4 days or whatever since my last podcast episode. And I could really feel it. It was really hard getting back into the rhythm, getting the mojo up and running again. It's like, you start working out and then you take a few days off and you feel real sluggish at the gym on that first day back to the grind. So I'm again just practicing perseverance and pushing ahead, pushing ahead, pushing ahead, even when you don't see any results, because you're not going to see any results for a little bit. Okay. And the voice in your head, which I call Hal, for those of you that know, I call the voice in my head, my ego, whatever, my shadow, whatever you want to call it. He's always telling me, like, let's just scrap this whole gym thing. Let's just scrap this whole podcast thing or whatever it is that I'm trying to work at. Let's just scrap this whole patience thing. It's too hard. You're never going to do it. You're not good enough. There's no why are we doing these new things outside of our comfort zone? Why can't we just go back to the old ways? And it sounds so enticing. It sounds so enticing when you start going back to the spiritual gym or the mental gym or the physical gym. It doesn't matter. It's so enticing, especially after taking a day or two off, to just sit and eat a whole pizza. Or donuts or fast food or whatever the metaphor may be for you. It sounds real good, like, yeah, the good old days, just vegging out, not like grinding and sweating and practicing all this stuff that's hard, you know, because my mind doesn't want to do stuff that's hard. My mind wants to stay in the comfort zone where everything's nice and cozy, but I have to remind my mind that there's no growth in the comfort zone. Okay. And I'm here to grow. I'm here to expand. I'm not here to wither away. I'm not here to shrivel up into a corner. I'm here to expand. I'm divinity experiencing my 3D creation in the Matt Owens form. Like, let's get this show on the road. So that's why I push myself to go beyond what my mind wants, is so that I can grow and become better than yesterday's version of myself, right? Not that there's anything wrong with yesterday's version of myself. It's just I choose to be better today in some way, shape, or form, to push myself, because that's how I become limitless. That's how I become this powerful being that I know that I truly am, that I didn't believe that I was my entire life. This is how I become the powerful being that I know that I am. This is how I uncover that divinity that is at my core, is by shedding all of this nonsense that tells me that I'm otherwise. And so I haven't just been manifesting patience and like waiting in line longer, but I practice patience also by putting my phone down. That's difficult, right? And I've played the game. I get it, guys. For those of you that have tried, like, okay, I made a big deal about it. Attention, everyone in the world. I am going off of Instagram forever. I am never going back to Instagram, like, and then a week later, I'm like, well, fuck. Okay, I'm back. Hi, guys. I know I made a big dramatic exit there, but like, turns out I'm kind of addicted to social media. So I'm back on Instagram, like, and I played that game, and uh, maybe you have too, right? But there is so much that I gained spiritually and mentally and physically, I'm sure too, from at least just taking breaks from social media, at least just taking breaks from my phone, right? When I have to wait at the DMV or wait in a long, boring line, of course, my first instinct was, and perhaps your first instinct is, to just pick up your phone. I'll just endlessly scroll or look at this or just play some mindless game. There's nothing wrong with any of those things. I do all of them, right? But for myself, it's just about learning balance. And I often find myself in balance when it comes to social media and my cell phone in general. So that's what we're talking about. There's no shame, there's no judgment here. What I've done is I've quieted that voice that tells me that what I'm doing is wrong. I don't play that game anymore. That's how trying to, you know, tell me lies. Tell me sweet little lies. Tell me lies. I'm not going to sing the whole song, guys. Tell me sweet little lies. That's the adversary. That's the devil. That's the shadow trying to convince me of lies. So I have to it's this game of reminding the voice in my head how the devil, no, 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 no. You're lying to me right now. So um, putting my cell phone down was hugely beneficial. Taking a week off, taking a day off. It doesn't have to be a thing. It doesn't have to be forever. I played that game and it just doesn't work for me. Right? Saying I'm never going to do X, Y, or Z again doesn't work for me. That's sort of how I've learned to overcome my addictions in my life. I previously viewed these addictions as problems. I got these problems. I'll never be able to shake this monkey off my back or this thorn out of my side, this addiction thing. I'm stuck with this, albatross around my neck. Or how many analogies can I think of, guys? Let's see. I think I'm done with that. How can I break free from this thing that's just tearing me down and bringing me down? And I decided to just view it differently. That's a whole nother episode, and I've talked about it previously, but just not feeling guilt over certain behaviors that I was doing, right? Not feeling shame over certain behaviors that I was doing, over excess or smoking too much or drinking too much or eating too much or doing X, Y, or Z too much, right? That's how I overcome many of my addictions, is just letting go of the shame behind it and the guilt behind it. But that's for a different episode. But meditation also helped a great deal. I talk about it frequently because it's such a useful tool in my own life of just practicing not thinking, not having an agenda, not being like, oh, why is this taking so long? Well, where do I have to be? Oftentimes I don't have anywhere to be other than just like, going home and watching Netflix or just doing nothing. Like, what's the rush? So I had to just get myself into the frame of mind of like just sitting quietly, practicing sitting quietly. It was very difficult, guys. But after practice, of course, and after a lot of training my mind and my body to just relax, to break that habit of reaching for my cell phone, reaching for my cell phone, reaching for my cell phone. Like, what would it look like to just sit and stare quietly at the wall in front of me? Well, I've literally never done that before, so let's try it out. And it turns out it feels real good. It's kind of peaceful and calming, actually, whether it's for 4 seconds or 4 minutes or 40 minutes. Like it worked wonders for me. And so part of putting my phone down and not thinking um, really, really helped me in just the practice of being patient, being able to sit alone with my own thoughts or no thoughts at all, right? I was very uncomfortable sitting with my own thoughts. That made me real squirmy to think about. I didn't want to think those thoughts, and so I would just sort of ignore them and cram them down and play games on my phone or Instagram or whatever. So it's not just about training my mind in those ways to be more patient around my children or the old lady in line, but it's also taught me patience around manifesting things in my life that I want right now that aren't here right now, right? And whether it's wanting a new living situation or housing situation or a new job or a new significant other or a change of pace or whatever it is that you don't have right now that you want. There's often a process of waiting and being patient for that. And I've talked in past episodes about manifestation. I think I called the last one Manifest Destiny. If you're interested in just sort of my philosophies on manifestation and some of the things that I do in my life to manifest things, some examples of things I have manifested. And manifesting, I'm currently I'm always in the mode of manifesting one thing or another, right? But it's also about stepping back and realizing that um, a lot of this is a game of patience. For the last 2 years, I've been trying to manifest some big things in my life. the universe, God, spirit told me to go big. I had manifested several things in my life just sort of as a test, as a litmus test to see like is there anything to this whole manifesting thing that everybody's yakking about? Like everybody in the spiritual community is going on about manifesting, and I'm like, well, I need to see this thing for itself and see how it works exactly. So I the past 2 years have been a journey of learning and practicing manifestation practices and getting to the right frequency of the things that my heart desires and seeing that those things come to fruition. But oftentimes these things, like for me, living situations or financial situations changing, specifically manifesting a winning lottery ticket, because I was like, if I'm going to manifest something big, like let's manifest a lottery ticket, right? It's one thing to manifest a dream job or manifesting meeting the right person. Those things in my mind seem reasonable, and I've attained some of those things in my life that are more reasonable in nature, right? Well, if you work hard enough or the right circumstances or being in the right place at the right time, I can see like, yeah, that works out. But winning a lottery ticket is very specific, and I figure it would be a real good uh what am I looking for? It'd be a real good proof of concept of manifestation if I can successfully manifest a winning lottery ticket. So the universe has taken me down this path, this journey that I'm currently on, that has involved. It's been a real wild ride, facing my money fears in order to, because oftentimes I found in manifesting that we have these limiting beliefs or fears that are keeping our manifestations from coming to fruition in reality, in our 3D world, in our life. And so it's been about removing those limiting beliefs, specifically around money, is what I'm talking about in my life, limiting beliefs and fears around money. And so these last 2 years have been really about addressing those fears and addressing those limiting beliefs and learning to overcome those hurdles, those fears of money, not having enough. How am I going to be able to pay for that? What's it going to look like if I have no money, or if I'm homeless, or if, what happens if, what if. Um, and so it's really been about trusting in this divine process in our lives, trusting in divine timing in our lives. And that's what's really core to this message today of perseverance and patience is really trusting in divine timing. And that's something that I had never done before. I had never really truly trusted that there is a divine hand out there that is leading me and guiding me in the right direction, that is the highest possible good for my soul, right? Not necessarily for the human, Matt Owens, might get a little uncomfortable in certain situations, right? But that's okay. That's also a part of the process. And what I'm doing when I go into these situations where I take these calculated risks in my life, or dive off of cliffs metaphorically, it's about listening to my intuition. It's about listening to that divine voice whispering in my ear, telling me which direction to go, which I had never listened to before in my life. But once I started listening to those whispers, those quiet whispers, my intuition, my higher self, God, the angels, leading me and guiding me, I believe I have a whole team up there of divine beings leading me. And so if that is the case, I started asking myself, like, if that is my belief system, that I believe that there are divine beings leading and guiding me, then what am I so scared about? I had to have a real conversation with myself over the course of months, right? Addressing these things, but like, why do I not trust that God itself, Himself, whatever you want to say, um, if God is leading and guiding me, if there are angels that are paving the way before me, why am I such a nervous wreck all the time? And so I had to ask myself these questions and address these questions and address these fears and let these fears go and work through them, work through the shadow, the scary parts, right? That I didn't want to look at all these years. And so the last couple of years have been really intense for me, which I've sort of spoken about here and there in these episodes. But I've become really reliant on divine timing. I've learned to trust and put 100%, or as close as I can to 100% of my faith and trust in divine timing. I get a lot of analogies from the good Lord above, and relating to this conversation. A few days ago, I was on my walk, and um, I don't ask the question of when anymore. Like, hey, when's it coming, universe? Like you told me it was coming soon. Well, time is an illusion, my friends. I'm sorry to tell you. And soon is a relative term. When you're talking to a divine being that is eternal, soon is kind of a relative term, right? From what I understand, both because of mainstream science and fringe or spiritual beliefs, time is a construct in our little human minds, and it doesn't actually exist. Past, present, and future are all happening simultaneously, which is really hard for us to wrap our minds around. Um, but I just have to believe and trust it, because I've been shown in my own life that when I do have faith and trust in the unknown, when I head into new areas that are dark and scary for the human, I have to just be reminded that it's all going to be okay. Everything's going to work out just fine. It always does. It always has, and it always will. And then I'm often reminded by the angels that all of the scenarios in my life where I'm like, oh yeah, okay, it did work out then, and that one time. Oh yeah, okay, I forgot about that. Yep, that did. So it always works out. Fine, 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 fine. So it's just about reminding myself of that. It gives me a sense of calm and peace, or at least lowers me freaking out by a few notches. Right, depending on the level of freak out or stress. But it's about trusting in divine timing. The analogy, to get back to what I was saying, was the analogy that I was just given a few days ago on my walk was that I'm on a train and I've been assured by the conductor, who is a holy conductor. The conductor has a halo over his head, and has like a golden name badge. Like, it's obvious this guy's divine. Also, he's glowing, so there's that whole thing. But so I'm on this train with a glowing heavenly. It could be an Anunnaki. I don't know. Driving the train, um, assuring me that we're getting to my destination. Destination being my heart's desires, my best possible good and outcome for my soul. That's my destination, my land of milk and honey. It's on the destination. I've been assured by divinity itself, by the big man running this whole train, that we will arrive at our destination. And yet it's so interesting that I find myself, and perhaps you do as well, going, yeah, but how can I be sure of that? Right? Because we live in a world where we've been lied to so many times and deceived so many times, that it's hard to put our faith and trust in things. That's how I found it in my own life. At least it was difficult because I had to reprogram myself, because I was in a place of real distrust of society, the government, history, all of these things. Everything that I thought that I knew was kind of turned upside down in 2020 when I sort of had this awakening of mine. And so anyway, I just started seeing things differently. But I'm assured by this train driver that everything is arriving on time, and then I say, like, okay, that's fine, fine, fine. What time exactly is are we expected to arrive at my destination? Like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock? Where are we at? And the conductor just smiles and walks away, and I'm like, what? Hold on, hold on. I asked. I wasn't a joke. When are we going to arrive? Because like, I need to get there soon. And the conductor just smiles again and says, we're going to get there when we get there. And I'm like, that's just not good enough. I paid good money to get on this train. Truth is, guys, I just kind of snuck onto the train, but he doesn't need to know that. I paid good money to get on this train. And I demand to know when we're going to arrive. And here's the truth. The conductor will not tell you that answer, because the train is going to arrive when it arrives. So the message that I received was, sit down, grab yourself a beverage, little snack, and enjoy the fucking scenery. Stop. In fact, take your wristwatch off and chuck it out the window. Stop looking at the time. When are we going to arrive? Why is this taking so long? I was told that these things would happen soon. Why are we still not there yet? Right? Patience, patience, patience. These are the lessons that I learned. So the message was, there are going to be many stops along the way. They're all a part of the divine plan. They're all stops. God, the conductor, is not confused by any of these stops that we're at, right? Sometimes we'll go through really dark tunnels that to me look real scary. And I run back up to the front of the train again, and I start banging on the door to get the conductor's attention. I'm like, hold on, hold on. What's with this scary tunnel? You didn't tell me there'd be a scary tunnel. Why are we going? Is everything okay? Like, there's no lights. I can't see anything. I've never been here before. Like, what the fuck is going on? The passengers are kind of starting to get a little restless. The passengers are kind of freaking out a little bit too. I don't know what to believe. I don't know what's real and not real. This is kind of freaking me out a little bit. And the conductor just smiles and says, everything's going to be okay. I know this route very well. You have nothing to fear because I'm in charge. I guarantee you that nothing will happen to you other than the fear in your own cute little mind, buddy. And he pats me on the head and politely closes the door in my face. Right? We tend to freak out and get so scared because this is all new to me. I don't know what I'm doing. Rather than just letting the train take you where you need to go, letting the conductor of the universe guide you where you need to go. Have you noticed how many times in your own life that you didn't trust that you were going to end up in the right place and then you ended up in the right place? How many times has it happened to you? It's happened to me many times. I tend to forget about those times when I'm freaking out and in fear. But once I shed that fear, once I take a minute to meditate, quiet the voice, put my phone down, because oftentimes that voice from divinity, from our intuition, it's a whisper. And we can't hear that whisper when I'm on, listening to YouTube videos all day long or scrolling through Instagram all day long. I can't necessarily hear that whisper. So I've learned that in order to hear that guidance, sometimes I have to quiet myself, quiet my mind, and trust that every stop along the way has a purpose. Every dark tunnel that you go into is taking you where you need to go. It may be a bumpy ride. It may be treacherous at times. It might get real hairy going around this cliffside. Are you sure we're good here? And the conductor just gives you like a peace sign. Big thumbs up. Like, I got this, bro. Chill out. Right? Enjoy a fresca. Sit down. I don't know if I've ever had a fresca in my entire life, but it sounds refreshing, and that's probably what I'd have on the train, guys. Hopefully, the Holy Train has a lot of fresca. The same analogy goes for getting a package on Amazon. We've been so conditioned to get things immediately, same day, that anytime it takes more than 4 hours for a package to arrive to your house, it's like, my whole world would fall apart. Like, what do you mean it's coming in 2 days? I want it now. Right? Little Veruca Salt action there. Shout out to Veruca Salt, by the way. Um, I was definitely that person, old versions of myself that wasn't patient, as patient as I am today, perhaps. Um, I'd sit there and check my Amazon package and I just hit refresh, 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 refresh. Well, I'll check it again in 10 minutes. Refresh, refresh. Is it closer? Is it closer? Is it closer? Meanwhile, it's still 6 hours out. I'm like, well, you never know. You never know. It might arrive early. It might arrive early. Refresh, refresh, refresh. Where is it? 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 Right? Endlessly focusing on some future event is what I've also been practicing getting out of the habit of doing, this pattern of conditioning, of programming, constantly thinking like, why don't I have that thing in the future that I don't have now? Because when you're thinking like that, you get into that frame of mind. I realize that it's taking you out of abundance. What it's saying to the universe, energetically speaking, the frequency of it is lack. I do not have this thing. Where is it? Right? There's this thing I don't have, that I don't have, that I don't have, I'm upset, and that's all the universe hears. Is you don't have something. You don't have something. Poverty, poverty, poverty. And so when you constantly are giving out this energy and frequency of poverty, of lack, the universe will return that in kind. What goes around comes around. As above, so below. It's all circular. It's all connected. Have you noticed when you're in a really shitty mood and grumpy and everything just starts, doesn't go your way? Those are the days that all the cashiers are assholes, right? Those are the days that there's a traffic accident. Now you're 30 minutes late. Those are the days that everything fucking goes wrong. It's because it's a reflection of your own energy. Have you noticed when you're on cloud nine and you just got that new thing, or you're so excited about something, and uh, everybody's friendly to you? Everybody on the sidewalk is smiling. Everybody's friendly because it's a reflection of your own inner energies. So what goes around comes around, energetically speaking. Another analogy that just popped in today, actually, for, speaking of divine timing, I'm talking about patience. Um, the analogy of the tree. Now, of course, this isn't something that is new. By no means did I invent this, but the analogy of the tree and the changing of the tree and the seasons and the dropping of the leaves, right? It's like we go through these dark times in our life. Let's just call that winter time, where everything is stripped away from us. It's a dark night of the soul. It's a peeling away of the layers. It's a looking within. And oftentimes when we do that, when we are reinventing ourselves, the phoenix rising from the ashes, well, we first have to let everything fall to ashes first. That's the painful part. That's the part where this winter dark analogy comes in, where the tree drops all of its leaves, everything that was, all of its comforts, all of its attachments, all of the things that were no longer serving it. It drops them all to the ground, right? And now it's sitting there bare and naked for everybody to gawk at, right? Stripped bare, uncomfortable, shivering in the cold. All of the things that brought it comfort before, all of the fruit, all of the leaves, the pine cones, everything that it thought that it was, have all fallen to the ground, stripped away. And so it's really easy for the tree in these dark times to say, like, when am I going to get my leaves again? I think I'm going to be like this forever, right? How long is this going to last? I'm freaking out here. I've just lost all my leaves. And what nature knows and what divinity knows and what you and I know is that springtime is around the corner, because it's inevitable. We live in a world of cycles, of patterns, of seasons in our lives. The pendulum always swings. And so I often will remind myself when I'm in these dark times of winter, where I've just been stripped bare, everything seems hopeless, miserable, dark, just wallowing in misery, right? Been there. Those are the times that I have to remind myself, and perhaps it feels good to say it to others, to hear it from somebody else, that your next season is coming. It's inevitable. Nothing lasts forever. So whatever it is that you're going through, if you're going through a dark season right now, is that I promise you, because divinity has promised me, has promised us, that nothing lasts forever. That there is light at the end of that dark tunnel that we're going through. And so just when it gets darkest, when you think it's not going to work out, you succumb to the fear, you succumb to that voice in your head that's constantly telling you you're going to be screwed, that everything's going to fall apart, that this is the one time it's not going to work out. Then suddenly, just when it gets darkest, a bud pops out on your branch. And then another bud pops out on your branch. It's springtime. And now is your time to bloom. And it's about not trying to focus on the next season. Oh, I can't wait until my leaves come back. Or, oh, I can't wait until the fruit comes back. Or, oh, I can't wait until that next season when it's summertime. Like, oh, the sunshine. It's about learning to love where you're at, to embrace the now, to live in the moment and say, you know what? I'm meant to be cold right now. I'm meant to be shivering and bare and stripped right now, because this is a part of my natural cycle. This is what makes me stronger. And so, to those of you that are in a dark place, cheers. I see you. In many ways, I am navigating through a dark space in my life right now. And these are the things that I do to get myself through the dark spaces, the voids. The places that are scary as shit, where you don't know how you're going to make it, how you're going to get through this. Let me just assure you that you will get through this. Because the truth is, you can do anything. This is what I tell myself, anyways. I want to segue into perseverance, because a large part of this is not giving up, right? Oftentimes, when we step outside of our comfort zones, it's real natural to go back to the old way, to go back to the comfort zone, right? Where it was easier, where it wasn't as scary or challenging, right? This is hard. I don't want to do this anymore. Right? But that's where the growth and expansion comes. I was just watching a new Netflix movie. I can't remember. It's called, hold on, it'll come to me. Easy Money or Dumb Money or something like that. It's the story of the stock market when all of those regular Joes shorted the stock on the GameStop stock, and it kind of upended everything, and kind of screwed over all the fat cats on Wall Street, etc. I didn't know that much about it other than just what I had overheard. I just kind of had a general understanding of it. Um, it's a very interesting story and a great movie. I actually liked it a lot, so I recommend it if you want to check it out. It's just about the little guys gathering together. Let me just explain the plot briefly. What they did is there's this thing that the investment firms will often do, where they will short sell a company's stock, which will basically tank the stock, and then they buy up a bunch of it and then manipulate the stock so that they can get a bunch of money on the back end, and it totally screws over the company and just makes them more wealthy and their investors more wealthy and screws everything up. But there is a way to go against that, and it's by artificially inflating that stock by having a bunch of just regular people buy up this stock, and then it artificially inflates the stock's value. Okay, I'm not a stock market guy, I'm not a financial expert by any means, but this is basically what it's about. So these guys, these regular Joes bought up a bunch of this GameStop stock, and they invested, maybe a couple $1,000s, and because of how the story goes, it eventually inflates to these crazy numbers, and several of these people are, now it's worth 500,000 or several $1 million, and now they're suddenly very wealthy because of this bubble that they've kind of created within the stock market surrounding this one specific company. And so what happened was is the stock kept getting higher and higher and higher and higher and higher, and the people who are holding the stock, the regular average people, are kind of panicking because they're like, when do we sell it? Like they're everybody in their family is really pressuring them, like, this is a stupid idea, sell it now, sell, sell, sell. And they're like, nope, we're going to hold the line. We're going to hold the line against these bastards at Wall Street, and we're going to really stick it to them. And so the message just was, hold the line, do not sell, do not sell. And just because it can crash at any moment, and they could theoretically lose all of that money. And many of them were millionaires just on paper at that point because of the stocks. And so they're like, well, if I sell it now, I can be a millionaire, but like, I think I'm going to hold out longer. And for me, I really resonated with that because when I take these leaps of faith off of these cliffs, metaphorically, when spirit tells me to take these risks and do things that are outside of my comfort zone, it's often like, I don't know. Like I tend to panic and like, well, I think I've gone too far, or I'm in too deep, or I just need to bail on this whole thing, or I'm out of here. I can't handle the pressure. Um, but what I've learned is perseverance, to hold the line. This is the message that I've been given this week, and that's why the universe showed me this movie. Right? Oftentimes, the universe will speak to me through music or film or a documentary, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's exactly the message I needed to hear. So thank you for that. And the message I keep receiving is hold the line. Continue to have faith and trust that everything is coming together perfectly and divinely. The only thing you need to do is relax, go with the flow of the universe, right? The cosmic flow. Trust and have faith that a divine hand is leading you where you need to go. Sometimes it doesn't mean that there's no action. Oftentimes the universe will say, you need to lean a little bit left here or lean a little bit right here as I'm flowing down the river. Whether that means to, make this phone call or to do this action, I will, as divinity leads me to, not reacting out of fear, right? Fear that, oh, I'm going to lose it all, or oh, I don't know, this looks pretty scary. It's like, hold the line, right? Steady. Let things unfold as they're going to unfold. Stop trying to control things, right? And listen to your intuition, listen to your gut, listen to that divine whisper in your ear saying, don't sell, or keep going, keep going, keep going. Even though keep going to my human eyes appears insane, because it looks like I'm about to go off of a cliff here, or I'm about to go over a waterfall, to keep the cosmic river analogy going, right? There's a waterfall coming up. And it's really easy for the human, old versions of myself, to get real panicky when I see that waterfall coming up. I'm like, I don't know about this. Do you see this waterfall here? Right? And God's just like, yes, of course I do. What are you scared of? I told you I got your back. And I'm like, yeah, but waterfall. I don't have a parachute. I don't have, like, how's this going to work out? And God's like, it's going to work out because I told you it's going to work out. So sit back and relax. And I'm like, yeah, easy for you to say, bud. You can see it all. I can't. But this is where faith and trust are developed. This is where perseverance is developed. This is where patience is developed, is these challenging times. So I've really learned to accept and embrace these challenging times in my life, not just embrace them, but to run towards them. Because I'm a rip the Band-Aid off type of a guy. I don't want to do this the slow route. If I have a lesson to learn, let's get this thing over with. I'm going to run towards it. I'm going to jump off the waterfall. I'm going to jump off the cliff, because I've been shown enough times that I always get caught, that the universe, God, always catches me. I never get hurt in the end. Oftentimes it's challenging. Oftentimes it's scary. Oftentimes it seems impossible until I do it. And then I'm like, oh, well, it turns out I can do anything. It turns out I'm a lot stronger than I thought I was. Thank you for that experience, because now that taught me a valuable lesson. Now I know a little bit more about myself. I'm actually a badass. I actually can fucking do anything. I didn't know that before. I had been told I was a worthless piece of garbage that can't do anything. I was told that by the voice in my own head. Right? I was told that by society, or told that by certain family members, or told that by various people, that, like, you can't do that. That's impossible. I've had so many people on this journey that I'm currently on telling me, you can't do that. That's just not possible. And I just smile and say, that's all right. You don't know the God that I'm working with. You don't know who I've got on my side. And that's okay if you can't see that right now. I used to get very offended when people couldn't see that, couldn't see my path, or see why I was doing what I was doing. I spent so much time and energy trying to explain myself to people, trying to get them to see things my way. I've learned to let that go, because that really stressed me out and just did not work. And so I was very offended and hurt and triggered by all of the things, by people who couldn't see my vision, who were the people who were like, that's not how you're supposed to live your life. You're doing it wrong. You're on the wrong path. Come back to this path that I'm on. And I'm like, no, thank you. No, thank you. If everybody else is over there on your path, then that's the path I'm going to avoid. Sorry, friend, but I'm meant for a different path. I'm meant for this janky path over here. That's scary as hell and perilous looking. That's going to be my path. You stay over there on your path and have a good day. Um, I've chosen a different path. So now I can just, rather than let it upset me when somebody has a different a viewpoint of my life choices, that's okay. That's okay. We're all different. We're all coming from different perspectives and different places and different life experiences. And I've learned to just embrace all of it, because it's much easier that way, to be honest with you. And I had to work at that as well. I didn't just one day say, like, oh, I'm going to love and embrace everybody. It was practice. It was more practice. It's just like, when the universe keeps sending me things that I need to learn these lessons, I kept getting sent people in my life who were challenging that, who were triggering me intentionally. It's because it needed to be addressed. When these things come up in our lives, especially over and over and over again, I found that that's the universe's way of telling us it's something that perhaps needs to be addressed in our life, right? It's another opportunity for growth. It's not the universe or God, right? The Christian God is often perceived as wagging his finger at us, like, oh, another sin, or you screwed up and you're going to hell. But it's about treating yourself like a child, right? Like somebody who's just practicing and learning, right? To be a little bit easier on yourself. I was not very easy on myself my entire life. And I learned to just say, hey, buddy, you're doing a great job. Okay. Even if you fell down and got dirty or got some scrapes and bruises, that's okay, bud. We're going to try this again because you're really good at this. And I know that you can do it eventually. And we're going to keep trying until it works. That's what I tell myself. I've learned to love myself, guys. Didn't know that that was a thing up until recently. Never really learned how to love myself. So that's what this is about as well, is um, learning that this doesn't happen overnight. This looking inward, this the inward journey, and this unfolding, and rolling up your sleeves and doing the spiritual work and the shadow work and dark night of the soul. It's tough shit. It's not for the faint of heart. So for those of you that are on a similar path, like, cheers. I can tell you right now that the voice in your head is not going to tell you this, so I'll tell you, you're doing a great job. Say it to yourself right now. I'll wait. You're doing a really good job. And what you're attempting is definitely possible because you can do anything. I had to tell myself this, and now I'm sharing with you the gospel, the good news that you can do anything. You are a badass. And maybe you've been told differently your whole life, or the voice in your head is telling you differently, or your parents have told you differently that you can't do that. That's fine. First, I had to prove it to myself, and then others will see it. It's not about doing it to prove to other people that I'm going to really show them. I'm going to rub their nose in it. Nope. They'll see it. How much better is it to savor when you can allow them to just see the change happen rather than cramming it down their throat, right? See you practicing these things, practicing patience. I can't tell you how many times I practiced, if I have an ice cream cone and I accidentally bump into something and drop the whole ice cream cone on the ground on accident, for example. It just popped into my head. Guys, I would never do such a thing. I have very good balance and I'm very aware of my surroundings. I would never drop my ice cream cone. My kids, on the other hand, that's a different story. But it's about letting the ice cream drop. It's about acceptance, letting things go, trusting that there will be more ice cream in the future. So many analogies. Love you. End transmission.